Hello and welcome back to the Successful CEO podcast. We are here with Gemma Benad, all the way from Australia, from Canada over here, and inviting on an Australian. I love that we're across the world. I mean, you're probably not like, happy you're up at 4:30 to talk to me, but I'm happy that you're here. Jenna is a biz strategist, an energetics expert. She leads on strategy and the nervous system for high achieving women. And she is the founder of the Body Led Business Method. Ooh, I love the sound of that. Welcome, Gemma, to the podcast. Hello, hello.
Hello, hello. And yes, even though it is 4:30 in the morning, I am absolutely happy to be here. I'm happy to be here and excited to have this conversation with you today.
Yeah, I love that you're just like, let's do the thing. And I feel like, I don't know if this has happened before, but I feel like I know you to be someone who you'll do this. You will get up to interview. You will get up to do trainings if you have to. You'll get up and you'll go for your runs. So I love that dedication and passion that you have
Yeah,
for the work
yeah,
that you
it is. Yeah, it is. And I mean, I've got, first of all, I have 5 children. And so, I've only got limited time that I can do things in my business.
do.
And, there are times absolutely where I've been up. There's been times where I've been up at 3 o'clock in the morning to see a coach. There are things sometimes we have to do that stretch ourselves a little bit out of our comfort zone. And, that's what it looks like for me. I think I believe in devotion and commitment to our business and our work and our life and all areas. And I believe that we can have all of those things. But I also believe commitment and devotion looks different for everyone. So sometimes for me, it looks like getting up at 4:30 in the morning, but maybe it's going to look different for other people as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. Okay, so let's learn about you. Gemma and I were having a conversation before. We've been in each other's world for at least a few years, I would say. And I think it started
Yeah,
off with you found me online, you hashtagged or something and found
I
me.
did. I totally did. I hashtagged. I was looking for a psychic or someone who worked with women in business. And I literally just used a hashtag and I found you. And it would have been definitely 2 years ago, probably two and a
Mhm.
half years ago.
Yeah,
I feel like it was my
for sure.
summer. So we're in winter now. So it was, yeah, about 2.5 years ago. And I remember I did a session with you. It was amazing. And I've been following you ever since, and we've been connected, and it's been great.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I feel like just before I got onto this call, I was like, I feel like we're just meant to be in each other's world, It's just like, when you meet those people online, and it's just like we're always connected somehow, right? Or we always make it back to each other. So,
Yeah, I'm always following, always watching, always loving, always supporting everything that you do. I think the work you do is amazing, and your own evolution over the last 2.5 years has been
yeah.
spectacular to watch as well.
And you're blowing me away. You are freaking blowing me away. I'm loving it. I'm like literally cheering you on, like over on the side here, being like, go Gemma. And actually,
Mhm.
someone yesterday I saw on Facebook, they were doing kind of like a shout out to you'll probably know what post I'm talking about, but they did a shout out to
Yeah.
certain leaders. And I saw your name and I was like, yeah, I was so happy that you
Yeah.
were one of the leaders mentioned. And it just to see you and your evolution. And I don't know, I feel like there's been like this massive growth for you and I'm loving it. But what I really love is how I feel like with this massive growth, you've always stayed true to your values. Like you've always stayed true to what works for you and what you believe in. And I remember a conversation too from a few years ago where you're like, maybe I just think too much outside of the box, or it's a little, like you do. You have a different way of thinking, and it's very innovative.
Yeah.
I feel like you were a little early in the times, but you still stood by it. And now everything that you stood for before, you still stand for, but now it's almost like the collective is catching up. You know what I mean? It's almost like you
Uh,
are you an Aquarian? Maybe you have an Aquarian energy.
no, I'm an Aries. I'm an
Okay,
Aries.
okay.
I'm an Aries, and I have a lot of Aries. Like, I'm
Mm,
not just Aries sun sign. I've got like Aries in my Mercury and all over the place. Lots of Aries. So lots of fire energy in me. And it's so lovely of you to reflect that, because I will tell you that when I came into your world, I actually remember, because I often have a theme for my year, and the theme for that year was unapologetic.
Mm-hmm.
And so I came into your world at that time because, and I had gone through an experience where I had had very quick success, very, very quick growth in a very short space of time when I transitioned into the online business space. And, but I hit this point where it just wasn't sustainable for me anymore. And that, like, that really changed. I mean, it's really threw my entire business world upside down at that point. But that really then took me on that journey of really coming into, as you say, my values and my vision, and really I wasn't grounded at that point in time, but I was really venturing into what was I going to stand for? What was I going to stand for, not just in my business, but for other women that were like me. And so it has been the last, 2.5 years particularly, have been such a huge invitation and journey for me to really own something that I felt like I was out on a limb about. And I use the story, if I can, just talking about that growth. It was I came into the online business world in 2019, scaled to multiple six figures very, very quickly. And then by the end of 2020, I was exhausted. I was completely exhausted. I was running on fumes. And I really realized, I mean, it's only been now that I've realized, but at that point in time, what I really had done was I'd really built a job, not a business. And even though I had team, I had people working for me, all of those things, I was just like pedaling on this bike. I was pedaling on multiple bikes at one time, and I just couldn't sustain it. And what I really felt at that time that was so hard over end of 2020 and into 2021 for me was I felt very isolated, because I made a very conscious choice at the end of 2020. You know what? I can't continue on like this. This, like, yes, I'm working with incredible people. Yes, I'm signing clients every day. Yes, I'm filling up my bank account, but my body doesn't feel right. And what was really challenging, really at that point, was that I pressed pause when everyone else was growing. And I really felt like I was out there on a limb and, doing something that was so unconventional. Like, who was pausing? Who was saying no to all of this success? And I felt in that. I remember 2021, I remember talking to my husband and just like, I've made the wrong decision here. Like, look at everyone else. Everyone else, like, what is going on? I've made the wrong decision. And it's truly only now in 2023 that I've had people coming to me now and just telling me, all of their stories of all the things that they were going through, and how much inspiration and how much gratitude they have for me sharing the journey that I was on, me talking about what I did, me going out on that limb and taking that very purposeful pause in 2020 and just readjusting everything and reevaluating everything at that point. But yeah, at that time I really felt like I'm out here alone. I'm out here alone. And it's only been this year that I'm starting to see, as you say, the collective, like, air quote, catch up. Like, people are like, okay, there is a different way of doing business. There's a beautiful synergy that we can have where we get to, yes, have all of this incredible success, but we get to really honor our bodies and do it in a way that feels right as well. And that's really what I stand for when it comes to the body-led business method. It is about, I talk about, it's filling your bank account up, and it's also doing it in a way that feels right and feels good to your body. And we can have both. I truly believe we can have both. We just have to learn what that looks like for us.
Mm, yeah. Okay. So powerful. I want to like still tap into this journey. So can you give a little bit more of a description? Because, everyone has a different definition of success, but like, if you want to be a successful CEO, it doesn't mean that it has to come with that price. And so what you went through before was, yeah, you had the success, but is that really success when you're burnt out or you're unhappy or you're riding the millions of bikes? And to me personally, no. If it
Yeah.
impacts my
Yeah.
family and I'm going to miss it on time with them and I'm not being fully present, or if like my body's unhealthy and I'm not getting sleep, that kind of thing, then that to me is not a successful CEO. I know there's some women actually they're younger than me. So they're starting out their business, they're younger, and they're having these massive months, but they're burnt out by the time they've done their launch and they've had these 6-figure months, and they don't go on dates. They don't, they're single. They're literally not living life in this moment to get to there. And we were having this conversation before where I do talk about, you do have to work hard. Like being an entrepreneur is not an easy route. It's not an easy
No.
However, I also believe and have the same values that you do, where, we do have to listen to our body. And I believe that your health is your wealth. And, yeah, like your intuition is a big part of this and paying attention. But I'd
Yeah.
love to hear a little bit more of like, I guess, detail of what were the signs that you knew,
Yes.
even though the money was coming in, like what were some of the signs? And then when those signs came, what did you like? Did you stop doing some coach? Like, was there certain coaching packages? Like, did you shut down things? Because I'm always on this journey of like, I just did it on this. It was the weirdest thing. Okay. A couple of days ago, a lot of people in my world know this. It was the night before the summer solstice. It was also the last day with my private coach that I've been with her for a year. So it's like things were ending and closing off and new chapters were opening. And that night, I just had so much clarity of who I want to be as a leader and the moves I want to make. And the next day, I like shut down a container that I was running that wasn't aligned with who I am as a leader and where I want to go. And like the pricing especially wasn't. I'm shifting the name of another big membership thing that I have that's more in alignment with me. Like, it's just all this stuff happened where it just shifted, I got that clarity. So yeah, I'd love to hear about you, where you were, those signs, and then what shifts did you make?
Yeah. So look, for me, I was having a lot of physical signs as well. Mainly for me, like when it came back in 2020, when I was at, the peak of my success, and it was November of 2020. So there's a couple of things. I was exhausted. There was no doubt about that. Like, I was falling asleep in the car line to pick my kids up. There was one day I fell asleep and someone came and had to knock on the window because the cars weren't moving forward, because I was literally asleep in the car line waiting to pick my kids up. Like, I was exhausted. I was also like thinking, even when it was the weekend, I was just in this space of, I still had one foot in my business. Even though I wasn't sitting at my laptop, I'm still thinking
Yes.
about it.
Oh my
I'm still
God.
thinking and processing, and like, oh, what about this? And what if I do this? And how am I going to do this? And what about this? And what's the next step? And how am I going to get to this? And my focus, and I found that my focus was so much on achieving that next financial milestone in my business. And everything was about that. And so there was this process of, for me, one of the main symptoms was just this overthinking. And I talk about this in the context of being the mind-led like CEO or the mind-led leader, as opposed to, what I help women become, which is the body-led leader. And that is that the mind, we use the mind, but the mind is in service to the heart. The mind is in service to the intuition. The mind is in service to the body. The mind is in service to God, to the universe. I believe our bodies are the portal to the universe and the communication that we have. But that mind aspect, we're just constantly thinking. And I was always looking over my shoulder to see, what's someone else doing? What are they doing? What decisions are they making? Oh, am I keeping up? So it was just this comparison that was there for me too. And it was all encompassing. So, and then it was filtering into my relationship with my husband. Like, I was just always on my phone. I was always looking at my phone. He'd come home from work on the phone. I'm on my phone, always looking on the weekends, always on the phone, on the phone, on the phone. And even with my kids, I just wasn't present with them. I just really wasn't in those moments where I could just be fully with them, and fully just enjoy. Like, again, we would be sitting on the weekend having a fire pit, like in the middle of winter, and I would be just not able to just be there and be really present with them. And so it was those things for me that were really like, something's got to change here. This can't be what success is supposed to feel like. Sure, it's what it looks like out to the outside world, but it's not what it feels like. So in November 2020, again, same thing. I came to a closure with my coach. I've been working with a coach for a year. And I really had built a business model that was identical to hers. Okay. It was identical to hers. And she is an incredibly successful coach and very great at what she does as well. But she's also, at the time anyway, was a single woman, no kids, traveling the world. You know, our lifestyles, there was no alignment in our lifestyles. And that's to no fault of hers. That's my responsibility. But that was a part of my journey, was realizing, oh, hang on a second, I haven't built a business model here that supports my lifestyle. And so I stopped working with her. I closed down, I took no more one-to-one clients on. So I shut all my one-to-one off, and all I did was kept one program open, and that was my mastermind. That's all I did. I had other programs, shut everything down. I just shut it all down. And I just stopped. I'm like, I'm not taking on anything else. And I said to my husband, I'm just going to do this for a few months. And those few months really turned into at least a year of just, it was a lot of soul searching for me, a lot of soul searching, and a lot of just I just had a lot of questions. Who am I? You know, I didn't get immediate clarity on who am I and what role do I want to play. Because for me, I had a lot of healing I had to do at that point. I had a lot of healing that needed to be done, and that I wanted to do and I desired to do. It wasn't necessarily just a necessity. Like, I really wanted to really go in and understand more about myself and who I was here to be. And so I did go on a journey of really just healing, healing and doing a lot of nervous system work at that point too, and just letting myself explore. You know, in human design, we're 3-5. I think you were three
Yeah.
five as well. What are you?
Yeah, we're the
Yeah.
same.
Okay. So, yeah, there was so much curiosity and exploration and experimentation. And I'm going to tell you, up until 2022, that's really what it was for me.
Mhm.
There was just so much exploration, just so much experimentation. And I just did that. I just let my business help me find my way. And that was instead of me trying to dictate the path that everything was going at that point in time, I'm just going to let my business just lead me a little bit here. And I'm just going to play around, and I'm going to play around and see what feels right for me. Because I don't know right now. I don't know what business model feels right for me. I don't know what version of success feels right for me right now. I don't know. I really don't know that. And I'm not going to know until I'm living it. So let's go and play. Let's go and get curious. Let's try different offers. Let's try different marketing models. Let's try different ways of selling things. Let's try working with different coaches. And so for me, it's been a huge journey of exploration.
Mhm.
And I believe, and that's when we talk about being a CEO, one of the things I truly believe is that, like, when I think of CEO, I actually call it Chief Experiment Officer. Like, I
Mhm.
really think that that's, as CEOs, because we're innovators, we're creative, we're visionary. You know, I really think that that's a core part of it. And so, I really think experimentation is a really important part of being an innovative, leader within your business, is letting yourself experiment and try things. And that requires a very flexible nervous system. That requires a nervous system that's very resilient. We need to be, like, really resilient, because, as you will know, as line threes too, we will often try things and they'll fall flat. You
Mhm.
know, we'll launch things, crickets. You know, we'll try a marketing strategy, nothing. You know, it's like, that doesn't work. Like, I think we are rock stars at failing. I think line threes are rock stars when it comes to the traditional concept of what failure looks like for people. I don't know that we necessarily see it as failure. I'm like, okay, we've tried something, didn't work, next. Next.
Yeah.
You know, it just mean the failure doesn't hurt sometimes when we experience some disappointment with it. Like, we're human as well. But yeah, for me, it was really like, I really had to find my way out of all the shoulds of business. That
Mhm.
I had shoulded all over myself. I've been in business for 16 years,
Yeah.
like 16 years of running businesses. I have tried every type of business model. I've had a bricks and mortar business. I've tried membership models. I've had high ticket coaching. I have low ticket, like,
Mm.
you throw it at me, I've tried it all. But a lot of it was laced in, like, you should do this, you should do this, you should do this. And so, that journey for me, of, like, my body saying, hang on a second, this isn't right. My relationship, I've got a solid relationship with my husband, but still that connection, like, I don't just want to have a marriage and a relationship with my husband where it's just like we coexist. I'm in love with my husband. Like I want an intimate, deeply connected, present, fun relationship. And I want the same with my kids too. Like to me, success has to be, it's the lifestyle that comes in, whatever that looks like, whatever that looks like. And I, believe that our business is designed to support that. Not for us or our business to be reliant on us, but for our business to actually support us. And it is a relationship. We are in a relationship with our business, and having a beautiful interdependent relationship where there's a dance that happens. It's give and take, and we move back and forth with it. But ultimately, for me, they just really cemented in that point that yes, I want a business that supports my lifestyle. And also the feelings part was important to me too. Like I really wanted a business that felt right. And I want to be clear because that people, it's very intangible to say that, and I get that. But I want to be clear. I'm not talking about a business that feels easy. I think that's a part that I think people struggle with when they come into business. Like everyone talks about ease and things feel easy. And sure, there are seasons of ease in our business. And then there are seasons of, there are seasons where we have to exert more effort, and it swings and roundabouts and we get to move through that. And again, that's where, the biggest lesson for me really was if I can build myself a very resilient, flexible, stable nervous system, then I can start to use it like a lever in my business. And I know how to pull on different levers to, in those seasons where I do need to exert more energy, which I'm in right now. I'm in a season of exerting a significant amount of energy, but I know how to like apply the pressure like an accelerator in a car. I know how to apply the pressure and I know when to take it off. And I know when it's time to hover over the brake a little bit and just put a little bit on the brake. And I know how to do that. But most importantly, I also learned in that, that I need to set my business up with the structures, the business model, the structures, the systems, all of those things that are important so that, when I am taking my foot off the accelerator and I do want to hover it over the brake, my business can keep going for me. And that was one big thing. And that's a lot of the work that I do with my clients now is I, have a lot of women that come to me, they've got multiple 7-figure businesses and they can't take their foot off the brake, off the accelerator. They're like pedal to the metal, it's full down. If they take it off, then their businesses slow down. And they're like, I don't want this anymore. I want to be able to go away. I want to go away on a 1-month holiday and have my business not just stay afloat, but actually like grow. I want it to be able to not fall apart. Like I want it to be able to thrive when I'm not there. And that's the piece that I think that we can do. And that is a very long-winded answer to your question, what you asked me.
Yeah, I
But
don't know what it was. This was great. I'm just like everything
yeah,
you're saying, I'm
well,
just soaking in.
I know. Well, you asked me about what the signs and the symptoms
Oh
for me
yeah,
of like,
that's great. Yeah, no, that was
I'm not being success, but that really led me into that. Yeah, really led me into that journey of like redefining success. And I am very big on, I'm very big on self-defining all of these things. Success, what feeling right or what alignment in business like is for you, because if we don't define it for ourselves, the world will define it for us.
Mhm.
And that happens time and time again.
Yeah, when you were talking about, I'm like, we gotta go back to this part. When you were talking about, on the weekend and not being fully present, and then,
Yeah.
your phone in your hand, that kind of thing. I was thinking about the nervous system. We can tap in a bit
Mm.
with the nervous system here, and
Yeah.
how, now for you were talking about high achieving, going after these goals, and there's probably this feeling of if I take off the brake, if I take my foot off the accelerator, more on the brakes, that means everything will, it's not going to
Yeah.
continue to scale to where you want to. It's all but the numbers. But I
Mm-hmm.
was also thinking too with the nervous system, the sense of safety, because I know this is a big thing that comes up for me with my like root chakra and just this, I think especially this year, because I did resign from my teaching job. My husband left his job to work for the company. So
Yeah.
this year is a big one of like trusting, and
Mm.
there's also at the same time this like fear that comes in. It's kind of like this wave where it's like, I trust it's always worked for me. It's always growing. I know universe has always supported me. Like all of that goes through, but then there's also days where I'm just like, oh my God, what did I do? I can't believe I love teaching. And my husband no
Yeah.
longer, we don't have that income. And so I know for myself, one thing I'm currently going through is, and it's so funny, you just talked about that weekend and the phone thing, is a new thing is I really want to step away from my business on the weekends. So like I love my business. I don't feel like it's work. I love to create
Yep.
content, like all of that. However,
Hmm.
I do find that it's what you described, where it's like you're always still thinking about it though, you know? So like if you're swimming in the pool, like there's always like,
Yeah.
oh, you do this, or I wonder if this, and there's always those thoughts going on, and you're still attached and not fully like present. When I find when like I have guests
Yes.
over, so let's say my brother and his kids come over and my phone's away and I'm fully present, it's almost a sense of freedom in a way where I'm like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
And then they leave, and I've literally had like 4 or 5 hours of like just being in the moment and eating good food, and we're swimming and we're in the sun and we're, you know, conversations. And then I'm like, I feel like, whoa, I totally stepped into a whole different paradigm. And I realized recently, I really love that feeling. So then I was like, well, let's
Yeah.
create more of that. Like, let's cultivate more of that where it's like, you know, so now what I'm going to actually start, I feel like this is so aligned that you came on and we're talking about this. And I love to be an
Yeah.
open book. And I'm like this with my clients.
I
Like,
love this.
I'm leading
Yep.
myself. I'm not perfect. Like, I've had success, but like, there's still more growth and evolution. And for
Of
me, this is an
course.
energy leak, and also something I think with my nervous system and the sense of safety, where it's like, I can, you know, put the phone away, not be thinking, even like you were saying, the wheels going about your business, totally just like being in this realm, this paradigm with my family and the kids. And the business is the business there, and it's still going to work, and it's still going to thrive, and I'm safe. I'm safe to do this. So I'd love to tap
Yeah.
with the nervous system. Maybe you're going to like do a little bit of coaching for me here, because I know this is my big theme with the root chakra. I mean, I even have right now on the bottom of my foot, I'm going to like a foot doctor next Friday. They've
Yep.
done an ultrasound. There's like this bump that's, it's kind of like, I forget what it's called, but anyways, it's like a cyst kind of thing. It's really rare. It's not cancerous, but like there's just these symptoms physically, because I'm all about your body
Yeah.
tells you things,
Yeah.
where I
Yep.
think it's the root, like we're down at the lower area, root chakra, working hard, because this has been a year of a lot of hard work, especially
Yeah.
strategy driven. And now I can feel
Yep.
the pendulum swinging, where I'm going, okay, I've learned a lot of strategy. I've done massive investing. I've made big leaps of leaving my teaching job and retiring my husband. So it's been that, like that exerting the energy. And now I can feel my more of this like intuition's coming back in, the magic, the health. And now I think I feel like I got the strategy, and now we're going to marry them. But yeah, let's tap into
Hmm.
a bit about
Yes.
safety, sense of safety, and then the nervous
The,
system.
right. The nervous system is all about safety. It's
Mm,
everything to do with the nervous system is about safety. And you know, our bodies have a very natural, normal, and innate resistance to change. And so we are all wired to operate in some particular way at the depths of our nervous system. And I do find for a lot of us high achieving and ambitious women, we do have, you know, a significant focus on our goals and where we're heading and what we're doing. And it's very future based. You know, we're very
yes.
much about what's coming next, what okay. And so, and that is something that happens up in the mind, and we come up into the mind where a lot of the time we are out of the body, and our body is always in the present moment, right? It can't be anywhere else other than the present moment. You know, our mind is the one that has the gift to travel to the past, to travel to the future, you know, in all those spaces, but our body is always here in this present moment. And it's always, you know, our body is always assessing as well what's safe and what's not safe. And so when we are very wired to operate in a particular way, there is a sense of safety that we get from that. So when, you know, we have moments where like, you know what, I desire to be out of my business more. I desire to, you know, let my business do some of the heavy lifting for me. And that's one of the things that, you know, with high achieving and ambitious women as well, is support, being supported. Like, we know how to lead. We know how to lead ourselves. We know how to lead other people. We know how to lead our business. We know how to be in control. Okay. But when it comes to letting our business take over and do that, that's a part where we start to feel a little bit of that, oh, this doesn't feel like, when we do, step away, it can be a little bit like, oh, this feels a bit uneasy in my system. That feels a little bit unfamiliar is really the biggest piece of the puzzle, because the nervous system is all just about safety. And so safety comes from familiarity. That's all it is. It's just looking for its same familiar patterns, and not just same familiar patterns in terms of environment, but same familiar patterns in terms of the neurotransmitters that circulate around in the body, which is the chemicals, the dopamine, the cortisol, the serotonin, the adrenaline, all of the beautiful chemicals that are very important for how everything functions. Our body's just used to that. So if you are used to being on a lot, what happens is you're going to have a very high dopamine release in your body. And dopamine is that momentum, action taking chemical that keeps us moving, and so it will keep us thinking, keep us going. And so what happens is we get very used to that as well, which keeps us up in our head, keeps us constantly thinking, constantly moving, constantly going. And so when we do things like take time away and step away, and our body's not getting that same dopamine kind of release as well, what happens is that starts to feel a little bit funky in our system too. And so that can also be where that sense of this doesn't feel safe, because what the body's going, this isn't familiar. And so we can start to feel a little bit of unease. And that unease can look different for some people. That unease can just feel a little bit like, I'm still thinking about my business. That unease can just feel a little bit like edginess. Okay, like when I step away from my business, I've still got that edginess that's there. Like I can't really fully switch off. And for other people, it will show up in terms of physical ailments. For a lot of clients that get, thyroid issues, gut issues, all of those sorts of things as well, because there isn't a chemical imbalance that's going on. But safety is huge. But the beautiful thing is that we can guide our nervous systems, even though we're talking about the autonomic nervous system here, which is automatic. It's the one that just automates our behaviors and our responses and how we engage in the world. We can take back control. When you learn how to use the levers of your nervous system and connect in with what's going on, we can actually take back control, and we can actually guide ourselves into a sense of safety. And what's important, and what I would say to you, is all those beautiful affirmations that you have around it's safe and I can trust in this and it always works out for me is really beautiful and incredible. And we want to make sure that we've got that mind that's really supporting us in all of those things. But I talk a lot about body set. Okay. So we do a lot of work on the mindset, but we don't do a lot of work on the body set. So what I always say to my clients, and what I would say to you, is, letting yourself, like, choosing very conscious periods of time where you would disconnect from your business, where you would normally be connected to your business. Like start to pull out pockets of time. Like, if you, for instance, if you have a standard work day that might look like, with kids, that maybe it's like 9 till 2 or 9 till 2:30 or something, and you're normally like, what, in that period, that's what I'm working. So head down, we are working, we're doing things. What I would say to you, and I teach my clients with this as well, is let's take pockets of that and let's take you out and put you into a rest state. Like I want to put you into a proper rest state in that period, so that we can start to get a body that is wired for certain nervous system state in that period. Let's start to it a little bit different. Let's start to guide it into a safe state to rest in periods where it's used to be going. And let's do that through the body. Let's connect in with the body and guide the body into safety. Because when you want to notice what safety actually feels like in your body, not just what it sounds like in your mind too. And so safety for a lot of us will feel like, for instance, deeper, longer breathing. Okay. So we'll notice that our breathing will start to lengthen. Okay. And it will become deeper. Whereas when we're in a stress state, okay, which is a state where we don't feel safe to take our foot off, to be thinking about other things, to be focused elsewhere, breathing starts to get short. It starts to get shallow. You'll also notice things like tension in your shoulders. So we want to look at how our posture is. Are our shoulders dropped and back? And we want to just look at things like how we're holding, in our belly. Are we starting to be more relaxed there? And we want to start to guide our body. And there's practices that we can do. They're called, I do a lot of what we call somatic mindset work. And I've got a method which is called the alchemy method. and it's actually an acronym. So alchemy is spelled ALCALMY. So that the calm in the middle stands for connect, accept, liberate, and merge. And what we want to do is we want to just start to actually connect in somatically, body-based, with what the sensations of our body is actually experiencing. And what you want to do is just learn what those signals for safety feel like. And also learn what feeling unsafe, like learn what being a stress state feels like. So what I find for a lot of high achieving ambitious women, because we have 4 different responses in a stress state, we have fight, flight, freeze, and fawn. For a lot of high achieving women, the most common stress response is actually fight. And that fight is a lot of, it's like there's tension and we're moving, like we're constantly moving, we're constantly doing, we're constantly taking action. Okay, so it is a very momentum based type of energy. We don't do flight very much. We don't do freeze a lot unless we get really burnt out. That's when we go into freeze. And sometimes we do fawn. Fawn is people pleasing. Okay, sometimes we can absolutely do that. We can do that in our business. We can try and please our business by always being on, by always being focused, by always doing what's right for our business and not doing what's right for us a lot of the time. So we can get into fawn a little bit, but we do a little bit, quite a lot of fight energy. But one thing I would say to you first of all is just get familiar with what those sensations feel like. Because when you know what that fight stress state feels like, when you actually physiologically feel unsafe, like what does that feel like? That might feel a little bit like, I've got some nervousness in my solar plexus, or I'm feeling rushed. I'm moving around it and I'm rushed at the moment. Just get familiar. And I talk about compassionately connecting in. All you want to do is just compassionately connect in with that sensation in your body. And when you do that, then you can learn how to actually guide your body into safety without actually having to change your environment, without actually having to change anything. We can guide ourselves into safety as well, because safety is huge. So, if you're looking at, because we're always looking at change in our business. That's what growth is. Growth is change. Scaling your business, it's change. It's like, I'm currently in a situation in my business and I want it to evolve and I want it to be something different, whether that's financially, whether that's structurally, any of those things. So we're always in change. And your body has an innate resistance to change. You cannot switch this off. You cannot bypass your body's innate resistance to change. It is very natural, it is very normal, it is very healthy. And we don't want to see it as a block. It's not resistance, something that we need to brush aside and burst through, which is what we do a lot of the time. What we need to do is learn how to meet that resistance and guide our body through that resistance. And when we do that, because the change will trigger a feeling of unsafety. Okay, it will do that. It's designed to do that. It's normal to do that. Okay, and when we know that, and when we know how to operate our nervous system, we can actually guide our body from that. Okay, my body is having a very normal experience where it's resisting change right now. Okay, beautiful. It's doing exactly what it's meant to be doing. All right, now let me guide my body through that so that it can come back into safety, even though the change is still happening, even though I'm taking myself into something different. And I can guide, and just doing that alone is what will create that sense of safety, which means that we can actually then move forward and do the things. Because if we don't meet that resistance, the nervous system will default back to what it's used to. It just automatically defaults back to the familiar. So if you're thinking about you and you're like, you know what, I do want to switch off more, I do want to be more present, that's something that I want to build into my business, but you're so used to always being switched on, that's a period of change you're going to go through. And you are going to go through a period of feeling like this doesn't feel safe. Can I trust? And it might just be questioning, can I trust my business? And even though we can tell ourselves, I can trust, what we want to do is bring our body into that sense of safety. And it's going to dip in and out of safety as well. Like, it's not just, I'm going to arrive in a sense of safety and here I am. Like you say, there are moments where it's like, it feels safe, I feel grounded, it feels good. And then there's other moments like, oh my God, what did I do? This doesn't feel safe. Like, I can't trust. And we're going to go through those periods. And all we've got to do is learn how to meet and guide ourselves through that. And when we do that, our nervous system will start to support the change that we want to create. And that's when we start to find change starts to flow a lot easier, and we can start to set things up to make change in our business. Because I do say one of the most, if you want to call it a mistake, one of the most common mistakes that I generally see with women like you and me who do want to have that experience in business, where we have these businesses that thrive without us having to be constantly on all the time, is that one of the things that we generally do is actually go straight in and change things structurally straight away. We often do that. And we don't do a lot of the actual somatic nervous system work alongside that. And it's not that one needs to be done before the other, but what happens is when people just going to structurally change this and they don't have a nervous system that is a match for a more lower energy and lower energetic demand type of a business, like one that doesn't require you to be on all the time, that can be very, my husband uses the word discombobulating to the nervous system. Like it's very jarring to a nervous system that's so used to being on and so used to high levels of cortisol and dopamine. It feels very like, that's when we, sometimes we go, what's going, like, and we start to get into what people, traditionally called self-sabotage, where, you're like, I know what I need to be doing, I'm not doing these things. Or you set things up, but you still find yourself really busy. You're like, oh, my business is up, but now I'm busy over here and I'm busy over here and I'm busy over here, because our nervous system is still wired so much to be in that high energy, high action, high effort state, that it feels very uncomfortable just being. It's like, this doesn't feel safe. So we've always got to make sure any changes we make structurally in our business, and we should, if you want to, like, that's why I merge strategy and energy. I'm like, if you want to take more time away from your business and not be on so much, structurally, systematically, you have to set your business up. You must put parameters in place in your business to, you've got to look at your marketing model, your sales model, your delivery model, your operations. You've got to look at all of those things and look at what systems, what structures, what team, what automations do I need to put in place so that I don't have to do these things anymore. That has to happen so that our businesses can start supporting us more. And you've also got to do that nervous system work, because otherwise the nervous system will just be like, this is too unfamiliar. And that's exactly, this happened to me as well, where I was like, I'm going to take my foot off. And, I was like, this, and I'm going to get my business to do some heavy lifting for me. And it was like, no, my body went, no, this doesn't feel safe. This is not safe. I can't trust this now. I've got to get back in and I've got to control everything. I've got to do everything.
Yeah, oh my gosh, that was also good. I feel like as you're talking, I'm just like applying it to my own life and way I'm doing things and where I want to go. So I'm excited to dive more into this. This conversation was so good. I feel like we just like skimmed the surface. We could talk forever. But kids are coming home soon from school. The bus is going to be here. So, but we could literally be here for like 3 hours. Definitely. Yeah. One for me is that, oh yeah, I just love this conversation. I'm like, you're opening up so much for me. I'm just even thinking this feeling of what I want to shift as well is this feeling of rushing. Like, I feel like it's a rush. Everything's a rushed day. So now I'm like, ooh, now I'm going to be aware.
Yeah.
Like, is it though that my nervous system though is I'm used to that though. So when you start to say, then you find little other pockets of time to make things rushing and busy and it's like, oh, okay. So now this is really interesting. It's opening up a lot for me. So yeah, I love this.
Yeah, I love that for you. And rushing is a huge one. And so, like, in summary of everything I said, like if I was to say to you about the rushing, don't try and change the rushing, just connect in with it and just start to understand, what does rushing actually feel like in my body? Like, what does that feel like? And just, be like, oh, I'm rushing. Just like connecting in with it. And that's the beginning stage, is we just connect in with that sensation of rushing and what that feels like. And when we do that, then our nervous system will naturally start to step itself down. Sometimes, I'm just going to tell you, nervous system stuff, I know we've got to wrap up. Sometimes, like, our nervous system does know what to do. It will always reach for self-regulation. It will reach for that itself. Sometimes we have to get out of the way. Sometimes we are the ones that have to get out of the way of it. And so just connecting in with what rushing feels like in your body, really is that beginning stage. But this has been a beautiful conversation. I've done a lot of talking, so I appreciate, because I love to talk. So I appreciate you giving me the space to just really share all of this. And I really hope that this helps people, whatever stage of the journey you're on. You and I obviously have creative success, and we are further into our business journey. And I know people that are earlier on in this, and it's never too early to do this work with your nervous system. It's never too early to set your business up to support you. If I could go back and do this all over again, I would absolutely prioritize my nervous system, and I would prioritize setting up a business model that was so nourishing and supporting of all of my life. Like, I would do that work hand in hand together and let that be that journey of evolution. And when you can do that, when you can step into, that role of really understanding and believing, acknowledging that our business can support us. That it's not about us being, or our business being reliant on us, but our business can support us. We can build these really beautiful, nourishing businesses that allow us to thrive in the sense of what business is, which is making beautiful money, serving incredible people, creating the impact that we're here to have, and that it can also really support us in whatever our ideal lifestyle is.
Yeah. Okay. I love it. I love it. Okay. So how can people work with you? I mean, I feel like the people who are listening are probably like, I need more of this. This was like just skimming the surface of bringing awareness to it. And then it's like, okay, well, now
Yeah.
where do we go? So what do you have going on right now? How can everybody find you?
Yeah, come on over. Look, I have a free Facebook community, and that's the best place. Come and connect in with me there. And when you come and join in there, you will get immediate access to my free Body-Led Business online course. And that is the place. We've got trainings in there about how to build a sustainable business model without that makes sales, that serves clients and makes beautiful money without having to show up every single day, create new offers all the time, sell constantly, like all those things. So you can come and dive into that. There's training in about how to partner with your nervous system to switch off while your business thrives. I've got trainings in there about how to plan, like how to actually make your 7-figure sustainable plan that supports your ideal lifestyle. Got trainings in there about sales models. There's a whole lot of stuff, and you get free access to that when you join the group. So that is the best place. And I'll send the link to you. You can pop that in the show notes for people. It's called the Body-Led Business Secrets Facebook group. But we'll link it all up, and people can come and join from there.
So good. Okay. And one last thing, just for fun, can you tell the audience something that, they would never expect from you?
Oh my goodness. You've even asked me about this before before we jumped on, and I still don't know. What would people not expect from me? Oh my goodness.
Was there anything like
I
before?
honestly,
Like what were you before? Was there like, is there anything you've done in the past,
yeah,
who you were before, that would be like, really?
I don't know. I mean, I was a personal trainer. That was my first foray into the business world was as a personal trainer. And that
Oh,
certainly was,
I love how
so
it's
people
connected
might
to the
not know that
body
about
though.
me.
What?
It's definitely connected to
Yeah.
the body. It's definitely connected to the body. Oh my God, I've lived overseas. Like I grew up in a, smaller town out of Sydney, Australia, and I left there when I was in my 20s, and I traveled the world, and I lived in Sydney and Melbourne and in London and all over the place. And then I made my way back to little old Camden, just out of Sydney, Australia, and I actually fell in love with the boy next door.
Oh my
He
goodness.
lived around the corner from me. Yeah, look, he did live around the corner from me, so he wasn't literally my next door neighbor. But I fell in love with the boy next door, and we got married very quickly and have 5 beautiful children together.
Wow.
So yeah, I mean, there's probably lots of little things that people wouldn't know about
Yeah.
me, but
Oh my gosh.
maybe that's it.
I
Maybe that's
love,
it.
I love it. I love hearing your story. Okay, well, thank you for being on. This was amazing. I love you. And we will definitely have to have you back on for another time.
Thank you. It was amazing. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.